We've talked about Azeroth being a prisoner. We know the line, oh, this world is a prison. But what if we've been talking about the wrong prisoner? What if Elune is a prisoner? Pyro discusses some of his cosmic theories. Let's get into this. See what's going on with Elune.
I also think the Titans imprisoned Elune. And I think they may have used Yasharaj to do it.
Ooh.
I think we're going to go to the moon, because that's no moon. And on the dark side of the moon, I hope that we're going to find the Black Forest. I hope that at the core of the Black Forest, we find Elune chained to a tree. And I hope that that tree, in some capacity, is Yasharaj bound to the Emerald Dream, to Azeroth, linking it all together.
Oh, damn, this goes deep.
Lost in the woods. All that scary imagery, you know?
Lost in the woods.
The Black Forest on the dark side of the moon. We're scared.
And yeah, it's interesting. If Elune is in prison, it's got to be a different imprisonment mechanism than what Azeroth has been subjected to, because Elune has been able to be heard. The Night Elves have had a deep connection to Elune and have supposedly heard her whispers for a long time. So if she is imprisoned or wherever she is, whatever she is too, she's been able to communicate with the people of Azeroth for a long time. So that's I wonder how she would be. This imprisonment mechanism is different than what he's talking about.
Beasts and terrifying creatures like that exist. Not on the nice, lovely
What's
side.
up, War Bandit?
What is the Black Forest? The Black Forest is something that appears from a Zalato quote. Do you guys know what Zalato is?
I never heard of that.
Desecrated Gorhal? So this is from the Shaw of Pride corrupting Garrosh's axe. Garrosh then taking the axe and further empowering it with the heart of Yasharaj.
He's talking about some events that occurred in Missa Pandaria.
It's an axe called Zalato.
Oh, what's going to happen, War
Probably
Bandit?
set off
End
some
of the stream.
bells in your brain, considering Zalatath is also a weapon. He says, you should kill them all, you must kill them all. Eyes are windows to the soul. Shutter them forever.
Damn.
Pluck their wings, leave them broken. Pay the cost of greatness. All should bow before you, make them. All that you have accomplished, all that you have won, yet still you lick the boots of kings. Carve more slowly that I may feed, embrace your rage, caress your fear, gorge your hatred, voice your doubts. When you walk among the Black Forest,
you
will see. I can taste the essence of your soul. It is sweet.
Hey, there's some dark shit.
When players die, with each thread unraveled, a step closer to my realm. Another blemish on your soul. You will rest in Nyalotha. Would be interesting if Nyalotha was the afterlife for the old gods.
I was thinking when he talks about Nyalotha, when he first said Black Forest, that's what I was thinking. I thought of Nyalotha. Maybe he describes, Nyalotha has been described as like these tall towers and everything, this crazy architecture. I thought maybe he was describing Nyalotha. When he says Black Forest, like you're walking amongst the trees, maybe that's a symbolism for trees, these tall towers, you're walking in the midst of the city. But I could be wrong. Could be a completely different place.
You kill Il'gynoth, that's where it goes. I believe that several of the mortal races actually used to exist as servants to the old gods before the Titans came. So the premise of resting in Nyalotha as a mortal is an interesting one. Given what we're led to believe about flesh and how it links to several.
So we know some of the races are linked directly to the Titans through the curse of flesh. We know humans, I believe gnomes, dwarves. Who else? Those are the ones that were really connected. Maybe it's trolls. Trolls could be like the servants of the old gods. They could be originally from the old gods. That would be a different thought. Because we've always just known them as original, like, denizens of Azeroth, right? Like, they were just born of the world. Whereas the others, like humans, dwarves, gnomes, they were Titan creations that later became, humans and those things through the curse of flesh.
The mortal races. It's a plane, right? But so is the Shadowlands. I don't differentiate. Like, I think one thing you must understand.
That's true, Cadence.
Planes, planets, planetary bodies, like moons.
The eyes are windows to the soul. That's legit one for one ripped from Doctor Who, is it?
And suns.
It's definitely a saying I've heard
entities,
before.
They're all linked together. That is to say that I think the Emerald Dream is a realm that one could perceive as a planet. And
no, I don't.
Same with uh, the Shadowlands. I almost kind of see the different planes almost as like planet-like places that are hanging on the branches of a big cosmic tree.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you were to go through the branches, it's like traversing the twisting nether. The space that links them all together.
Sure.
That's borders all realities and links to all places. That could be wrong. Some would say, and it is said, that Twisting Nether is the realm of disorder, or plane of disorder. So that's what the Dreadlords call it, the plane of disorder. But it said that there are worlds inside that plane. So we could be looking, like I've said before, at like a vast cosmic network where
Damn, that
reality
creates
is...
so many possibilities when you describe the Twisting Nether that way, because I agree with him. I feel like the Twisting Nether is like these like rivers that connect planets. I don't know. It's like a pathway between different, realms. And then they're saying that there's planets, there's worlds within that Twisting Nether too. I think that's part of what we see in the Thousand Years' War. Maybe is they're stuck somewhere in the Twisting Nether, and that's where Draenor is, and it's falling apart, and maybe it's not supposed to be there, and that's why it's being torn apart because it's in the Twisting Nether at that time, and that's why we see it in we see the skybox we see in Hellfire Peninsula and everything. All that shit's crazy. We still don't know much about the Twisting Nether. We know what the Dreadlords have kind of described it as, but who knows if they're telling us the truth. Those guys are conniving as shit. So I'm sure we're going to get more Twisting Nether lore going forward in the World Soul Saga.
all of these planets in a space connected to one another through
9 realms of
Twisting
the
Nether
Nordic mythos.
that
Yeah,
exist
there's lots
in-
of
they're all
Nordic lore,
kind of like pockets of existence,
mythology in here.
but they're all part of the same plane. I would say the same thing probably exists for the Emerald Dream, where like it goes out and connects to different planets, and there's different realms of life in that regard. Probably the same, maybe in the Void, with like different.
The one thing about the Emerald Dream is I've always seen it as being connected to our world through the world trees. I always feel like the world trees have somehow connected our world to their world, and we obviously saw it. We brought, we brought a world tree literally from the dream realm into our realm. That's what we do in the Amir Drasil raid and all that stuff. So they are connected, and there's a way to connect the two. And I feel like when you bring a world tree into our world, it connects them even deeper. Maybe it brings them closer together somehow.
Entropic planets and whatever that is, like also in the Twisting Nether with disorderly
Yep,
planets.
Vampy,
and
it's
stuff
happening
like
today.
that.
What's up? Good morning.
So I don't know, a big kind of multiverse type thing, which is
Yeah, that's what it
not
sounds like.
that much of a stretch of the imagination considering what I'm playing through right now. Use the proper name, Pyro the Disorderlands. Fight me.
I'm gonna get it.
Then what is the Emerald Nightmare? Well, I was listening to, I think it was I don't remember if it was a
An
YouTube
equal and
video or what
opposite?
it was the other day. It was talking about the premise of how like consistently experiencing like the same unchanging dream. And this is not pertaining to WoW. This is like just someone just talking about dreaming. Like unending would be kind of awful, and that like eventually you would want some kind of change to occur, even if that means a nightmare, because you just get kind of bored of and apathetic to what is constantly occurring. So when I think about the dream being in a state of stasis and unchangingness, that's kind of what I think about, is like, is the Emerald Dream really the taint of old gods and
taint of old gods,
then by extension the void? Or is it more a manifestation of the stagnancy of the dream manifesting as rot and decay and manifesting as this horrific nightmare? Because
that's an interesting thought, because the dream has been like basically pushed on Azeroth for so long. I always saw the Emerald Dream as like, yeah, this Titan creation, perfect world that was meant to keep Azeroth asleep, because a good dream typically keeps you asleep. And that the Emerald Nightmare was the equal and opposite created by the Void, which was meant to awaken Azeroth, right? To wake her up, because nightmares typically wake you up. It's an interesting thought to think, oh, it's a direct manifestation of the dream, because the dream has been forced on Azeroth for so long that it starts to decay, essentially, become corrupted by itself. I miss the old times. where you were just a person that is going from town to town to help others. I know. The old farmer days, I've talked about it before. Yes, when everything was less complicated. I do worry about finding out more about secrets in WoW. Overcomplicating things. Like, we know nothing about Elune. She's a mysterious voice right now. But as we start to find out more about our lore, what if it's disappointing? I don't know. It could be. Shadowlands was surely disappointing in terms of lore. But it's just an inevitability. We could only be helping farmers kill gnolls for so long. The adventure had to expand from there, and that's what's happened.
Dream is not being allowed to change. That's more what I think it is.
Then
And that's kind of how I see the
always
light and
use
void
another
as well.
Death Knight.
Is that like when the light is kind of held in this
Thank you, Vampy Kids, for that sub. 2 months, wow. Death Knight of our Scourge, thank you.
unchanging state for too long, its energy will be lost. It's not infinite, and it will turn into void, and entropy will come, and it'll spread. So, like, conceptually, I think that those types of things exist among different forces as well in the way that they behave. That's kind of what I see the Emerald Nightmare to be, is the rot and decay that's occurring. And in a way, it's a reflection of truth, because the only way that you should, really, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but the way that you would fuel a realm of life like that, I would think, would be through the power of decay, at least somewhat. Like, you need to have decay. I think that's kind of what Ardenweald more is supposed to represent, is like the decay side of things, where
that actually, I hadn't thought of that. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's as the great Mufasa said, there is a circle of life. Yeah, life and then decay breeds more life, right? You can't have life without decay. That makes sense. And Ardenweald would be, in essence, that decay. We know that Ardenweald and Elune, aren't they siblings? They are siblings, I believe. They are sisters. So there is a direct connection between the two. So this makes sense.
things are kind of broken down and kind of, because that's how nature works, right? Like, foliage and things die and fall down to the ground, and those nutrients and things go into the soil and make new things, and new things grow on them, and like all sorts of shit. Like, could the Emerald Dream be the result of Azeroth sleeping? Yeah, it very well could be. The dream being a realm of life and creation that connects to and extends out to maybe every realm of existence where life is, like, yeah, it certainly could be related to Azeroth's consciousness, just in the same way that perhaps once the Shadowlands could have been to Argus. And I kind of think that dichotomy, that kind of white and black, that kind of yin and yang view is, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I want to know if the first ones are peaceful or if they have intent.
They're weird.
I would
the
see
first
them
ones.
as omnipotent and omniscient to the point where it would be extremely difficult for me to view them as
Good or bad.
as having malicious intent.
Yeah, I just think they have. I kind of agree. I would imagine them just having intent. Like, it's not good or bad. It's just, and they have no conscience in terms of whatever, keeping this alive or this dying. They just, there's just I don't know. There's just a way and order to things that they believe it's supposed to kind of proceed in.
I think that it is probably,
I shouldn't say order, because that's really a Titan thing.
the way I see it, I think, is often through the lens of them not really having, how do I put this? They had a design for the universe,
Right.
but the design is flawed on purpose.
Huh.
That's kind of what I think.
An intentional
Is
flaw?
that it can't be as perfect as the first ones are. Their designs can only ever hope to be that. And I think
Okay. And the Titans are trying to chase that perfection, though. What's up?
I
baby?
think that flaw is, again, the expression of divinity. And Farim is going to get into this as we read more of his journals. But he's concerned that the first one's mechanisms were not meant to endure. And it is that possibility which terrifies him, because Farim isn't immortal. And I don't think that he conceives of it and has come to grips to it in the same way that we have. That's
Like
why
an
for
end,
him,
like he can't imagine an end, basically, like we can, because we understand that our lives are there is an inevitable end to our lives, and for him has never considered that concept, but now he's starting to realize that it is a concept that applies to him. For
isn't
him
the
is the
one who solves
little guy right here.
the first one's thing. It's the player. It's because the mortal perspective is key in understanding, and it's beautiful, in understanding the necessity of the cycle's end.
Right. Yeah.
And that imbalance is what will lead to it. So the Titans thinking that they can halt the cycle. Sargeras maybe even thinking that he could halt the cycle will inadvertently lead them to ending it.
Interesting.
Because that's how they're designed.
It's poetic.
Because that's how it's designed. The flaw is what lets it work. Perfection, it's not perfect.
Yeah, the flaw is what lets it work, and the issue with the Titans is they see flaws as problems, right? That they need to rid this world of the flaws, and that's why there's that constant struggle between them and the Void, who maybe is the flaw manifest. Yeah, it's getting pretty like abstract here, but I like this theory a lot. It's just
It's not perfect.
sounds nice.
Can't be.
Yeah, interesting stuff for sure. Emerald Dream, Emerald Nightmare, Elune, Dark Forest. I mean, all this stuff, all this lore is going to be fleshed out by Chris Metzen in the coming expansion. I think it's going to be fleshed out a much better way than we got in Shadowlands, where it was really like, it felt like Shadowlands was written by a different person than the person who wrote the original lore, who is Metzen. So it's going to be, I feel like, much better, much more cohesive this time around, and hopefully nice and satisfying. We're going to get some good explanations of what's been going on in our world and the greater universe that is the world of Warcraft.